Hello.
Hello again.
Welcome back,
Hi.
Callie.
Thank you.
And hi, Jack.
Hi.
How are we doing?
We're
Yeah,
good.
We're good. We're good. I'm excited because Jack's our main focus
Yes.
for today. So I feel like I'm just more of like a passenger
Yeah.
with this one.
We
That's what you guys think.
Yeah. You're just going to throw the questions
If we know
back.
anything about our boss, it's that you ask a question and a question will come back.
Yes, absolutely.
Or she'll force you to be part of a solution.
Delegation.
Delegation. Skill required.
That's it.
Well, that's a nice little lead
Yes.
into our episode today.
Yeah, so we said that the spotlight's on Jackie because we are chatting, I suppose, around your journey, for lack of a better term, from starting out as a sole trader and moving right through to now managing what we believe is a big team of
Yeah.
OTs.
Is it technically still small business?
Oh,
What
I don't
is
know when
the-
it bridges into medium.
Yeah.
I think it depends on what you're paying for at the time. I
Yeah.
know the different softwares. Sometimes they're like, no, you're a medium business after 10. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
man. But
Yep.
yeah, no, I saw this topic in the schedule. I was like, oh, wonder what they're going to ask me. And
Yeah.
I didn't prepare anything or try to read through any of the questions because I think it's much more genuine if I just,
Nice and authentic.
just answer as we go. But hopefully it's an insightful, I don't know how much I have to offer in this space,
I
but
think you have a lot to offer.
well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Also, you two have both been with me for a big chunk of the journey.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
like I said, maybe the tables will turn.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to hear what you're going
Surprise,
to
it's
say.
my business now. But I think with that, with Katie and I being with you for a while, maybe what we can do just quickly, bit of background on your timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was a Deakin graduate
Mhm.
and I don't know that we've got any other Deakin graduates on the team.
I don't think so. So if you're listening and you're at
And you
Deakin,
are?
there's
Oh.
already a big plus. Obviously, Deakin equals business owner. Because we don't
Step
have any
one.
other- Step one, attend Deakin.
And so I moved down to Geelong to study, graduated. Back when I graduated, so that was 2008, PEDS jobs were really hard to come by.
Yes.
I guess it was very competitive. So I ended up moving to Ipswich to take a job with CPL as the only OT on a team.
Sorry, can you CPL? What's that?
CPL is now, it used to be the Cerebral Palsy League. It now
Yeah.
stands for, oh gosh, I don't even know. And I know they don't have allied health anymore.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It
Okay.
stands for like choice something. Oh, I don't know.
Right.
I'm going to butcher it. Sorry.
just leave it.
We just don't try.
We'll link. Sorry, CPL. We'll link you in the speaker notes. But yeah, lived up there for 2.5 years. Loved that role. So started mostly in physical disability, doing a lot of equipment and pretending I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, right.
And really loved that position. Loved the team, but got quite homesick and moved home. Took a job as a sole trader, or sorry, I should say as a contractor for another business. And that's where I shifted more into neurodevelopmental type work and loved that. And then I kind of had a bit of a crisis and thought, oh, do I really want to only be in PEDS? And I ended up taking a locum job alongside that position at Vic Rehab, actually, just doing some inpatient neuro, and decided that was absolutely not for me, and went hard in pediatrics and stayed in that practice for 2.5 years, and then went overseas for a bit and then came home and had a bit of a crisis around what I want to do with OT. I think that, I was very much like, having worked for more of a not-for-profit NGO, there's a lot of meetings, a lot of layers, a lot of very stuck type processes. And then working as a contractor for another business, it was very much like, oh, wow, now it's very, KPI driven. It's because that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
It's a fee for service model. And I didn't know that I had that in me. So I actually was going to do my dip ed and go and do teaching. That would have been
Were you?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
There you go.
About you. New fact.
Yeah.
And that was going to be a
terrible decision. I could not be a teacher. My sister's a teacher and I don't have it in me.
Yeah. Those teachers have their work cut
They
out.
do.
Oh, I'm in a classroom for a 45-minute observation and
done.
it's like, you are an absolute wizard
Yeah.
and no. So that would have been a terrible decision. So at the time, we were renting. And my husband basically said, like, have you thought about going out on your own and seeing how it goes? And I thought, not really. But I was curious and we were able to rent a room in a friend's house. So my overheads were non-existent.
Yep.
So I should give him a shout out, Andy. Thanks.
The launching pad.
The launching pad.
The original home.
Yeah, so worked out of his study really and just was on the road and did that for a little bit. And yeah, after 18 months of working on my own, I got lonely. And for those that know me, me working alone.
I can't even imagine it.
Oh, it's a
slog. It can be really hard.
Oh, it can be really hard, especially when you're a chatterbox like me. Then I recruited a graduate who came highly recommended. He was actually nannying for a paediatrician that I worked really closely with at the time, and he graduated and worked for me for a number of years. Went overseas, came back, I rehired him and so I guess I had a really good experience recruiting from the get-go, and then I had to rent a space obviously. So that was, and we were there for, what was it in the end? Like nearly, must be 9 years in that tiny
like
space
that.
in
Well,
Ringwood.
hang on, timeline-wise.
So
What year did you start KL?
2013.
Okay, so it's in its 12th or 13th year.
Yeah, 12, coming up to 13 years.
Coming up to 13. Yep.
Yeah, and we've been here for 3.
Have we?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
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 Because it was just after I
So
went
I
on
was
mat leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in the
okay.
tiny clinic where you had to
Oh my
walk through the
gosh.
one room to use the bathroom, get to the office.
The
toilets were outside.
bathroom, may I say. And that is where, and maybe we got a little too much confidence that we must be all right at therapy. Because if you are coming to that building with the bars on the window, the carpet tiles through and heading outside to go to the toilet, we must be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had no heating either.
No.
for so
We didn't
long.
even have the carpet tiles
No,
when I started.
that's
It was
right.
a cement floor.
It was just a slab out the back.
You two stayed. So
Yeah,
yeah.
desperate.
So I then recruited a more experienced part-timer to help out because we just got busier and busier. And then recruited another grad a couple of years in and then they all left in one go.
Yeah.
One moved overseas, had a complete career change. One moved interstate because her partner was a footy player.
Yeah.
And the other one went and had a baby. And I went from 3 staff to no staff pretty much overnight. And I thought, and I'm sure there's other business owners resonating going like, oh, yeah, we've been there. And I thought, I don't think I have this in me. It's the highs and lows for sure. And then put an ad out and Caitlyn Smith
Along
applied.
came me.
Yeah, and some other stuff. And I don't want to go through the whole timeline because it probably won't be that interesting. But you started shortly after that.
We were,
Yeah,
we
I
were in the
reckon a
same
few
year.
months-
You were
Yes.
like,
5 months
5
after,
months after
something
I
like
joined.
that.
Yeah.
What
And-
year? I'm testing both of us now. What do we reckon? 2017? Cool.
Yeah.
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 So it was still quite a small team and business at that point in time.
Part-time admin. We
Yeah.
had someone
Yes,
a couple of
that's
days a
right.
week.
Yeah.
I know. I
We
can't believe I
filled
used
in
to
for
check
the
in the
other-
clients, bill them.
Yeah.
We used to do like the
A
whole
lot.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also as a note, timeline-wise roughly, I know a lot of people like us do a lot of work in the NDIS space at the moment. This was
Yes.
pre-NDIS.
It was, yeah. We
So
just
there-
had the Medicare plans and private
DSS.
payments.
DSS,
private
where
paying
you would just
clients.
sign a paper
piece
sheet
of paper to say they've
about
claimed
the
that session.
Yeah.
That was it.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's a bit of a timeline
Yeah.
for us. And we've been in the new space for about 3 years, which is a serious upgrade. The toilets are
Yes.
indoors.
Well, this is the thing. It was because at the old building, when we started, there was only like the 3 therapy rooms.
Yes.
And we did some renovations there
Yeah.
as well because we were
Well, we split the one decent sized
That's
therapy
right.
room.
Yeah, sorry, there was
into
only 2
two
when I
very
started.
small
Yeah,
Yes,
a
so there
very
are only
big reception
2.
area.
Yes.
So we split it. So and
Mm.
that's the thing. It was the team was growing as the demand for the service
Yes.
was there as
Yes.
well.
That's
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So timelines padded out roughly.
Yeah.
And now
Um,
we're in, 2025 with a team of 18.
Yeah. Wild.
Yep.
And your team, just very quickly, what have we got as a division of like admin, OT, practice manager?
So we have a full-time practice manager, full-time senior administrator, and job share full-time, 2 receptionists that job share.
Yep.
And then the rest are OT, so 15 OTs.
OTs.
I still count myself within that. An OT first, business owner second.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So big journey. Lots in between. So I suppose then when we think about that team growing, and I'm hoping that there is OTs listening that might be interested in this, but also other clinicians as well. How do we go about growing a successful team, I suppose?
So
and
going
I think,
from sole trader to small business
and I
sort
think
of
that,
vibes?
like, I mean, I know that you mentioned earlier that there was that that one period where you had a number of your OTs resign all around the similar time. But I would say that in terms of your staff retention, it's pretty high, Jack, in terms of you're doing something right in your hiring and your business as well.
Is this going to be a pump up episode?
Stop it. Her head's big enough.
She's like, oh.
No.
Yeah.
Don't start with
But
But I
compliments.
guess like
thank you, yes.
because yes, there's going to be, I know that when I was in uni and I was looking at what I wanted to do, and originally I thought that was mental health, and it was because also so many people in my cohort were like, I'm going into peds. I'm like, well, how would I ever get a job if so many people are going into peds? And I really truly thought that experience was the one thing I needed, or the skills were really, really important.
Yes.
What's your take?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think even when I'm talking to some of my business mentees, I think we often, and I was the same early on, that you think if you don't have capacity to train, or you think you don't have capacity to train, you think that getting someone with more experience is going to be helpful.
Yeah.
My experience has been very different to that. I've had more graduates than not, or I've had people that have come over in their graduate year, so still very early on in their career, and I have no regrets.
Yeah.
But I love training.
Yeah.
I love working. I have all the time in the world to teach OT. I love OT, and for me, I find it much easier to I guess work with the person and help them to learn skills. I think that's kind of the easy bit.
Yeah.
I think that I've never found that aspect hard. I think I have a lot of capacity to provide support, and I really value that. So being able to, and I say it sounds awful, but being able to mold a young therapist to like live the values of the company, and rather than come in with their own ideas or needing to undo things in someone's therapeutic approach that is not in line with how I like to do things. That's much harder.
That is, I can speak to that actually. Being a accidental hire is probably not the right word as such. But
it was a little bit.
Like an unplanned pregnancy, an unplanned hire, an unplanned hire. It's a bit of a mistake, but it's worked out well.
Yes. We are so grateful.
I remember a friend of a friend, like a mutual friend, put us in touch, and I remember speaking to Jack, and I was like, so full transparent, I have no experience in peds, not even a placement. But I know my friend and they're friends with you, and I know you're hiring, and I'm wondering if I can come have a look and we can sort of like scope each other out, see if it's a thing. It was very informal. And then, been here for 8 and a bit years now.
Yeah.
So I guess
never thought I'd have to pay long service. Something
They've got multiple
something for
on the
business owners
team.
to be aware
Actually,
of.
if you're moving into a small business, just know that taking that long service, I hit that at 7 years straight off to Europe. So factor that into your plan.
100%.
But I think that that is to say that you certainly hired not off experience.
Yeah.
And I know that you still don't do that, but in terms of like, that does seem to be more of your flavor, that you would go for. Like, I hate calling them soft skills because I feel like they're such important skills.
Yeah.
But that sort of vibe as opposed to experience within the job.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. I think that which is hard when you're giving people tips of things to look for, because telling someone go with your gut is,
Yeah.
but I genuinely, and that's one thing that I do think I do well, is I have a really good gut feel for people that have it when it comes to OT, and also just their values are aligned with, like, I have a good radar for people, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the skills can be taught to the right person.
Yeah.
Yes.
So would you say that
You're the right person?
Yes.
Is that where you want this to go?
That's not where I thought it would go. But if you want to keep giving me compliments, I will take it.
We're just going around the couch of pumping up everyone.
Yeah, no,
at
this
the
has to
moment.
stop. Let's
know.
rip into Jack, actually. I'd like to turn it around.
Yeah.
So, because
What did I do wrong?
Yeah, actually, I much prefer
Yeah.
that episode.
Yeah.
But I think that it sounds like, too, if we've got people listening who either run a small business or are hoping to do it, that who you hire is, because I feel like everyone obviously knows it's important.
Yeah.
But it sounds like from your perspective, it's maybe more important and should have more effort put into finding the right person.
Yeah.
I've never compromised.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You've never, like, if the right person hasn't walked through the doors in those interviews, you've just waited.
Actually, that's right.
And
isn't
sometimes
it?
it's got pretty
It's-
dire.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
sometimes you think, I just need someone in that
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of pressure from the families and, you know, the wait list, and you get the guilts, and you're like, maybe they can be trained, and you start to doubt yourself.
Yeah.
But I guess that's a really big tip. Just don't compromise on that. I just think
Yeah.
that everything comes from the top. If you have the right OT and the contributing to culture in a really positive way, everything, the clients benefit.
Yeah.
They benefit in the long term from you waiting.
Yeah.
So I've never rushed it. I've had multiple rounds of CCADs, sometimes with tons and tons of applicants, people I've interviewed. So it's not for lack of applications.
Yes.
It's just the right person has not come
Yeah.
across my desk. And I think that's probably something that I feel I have done well, and why I'm lucky enough to be in this position. I definitely had no plans to manage 18 people.
Yeah.
But my team makes it easy. I think that's very much the difference.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when people are like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't really have to do all that much.
Yeah.
I've got a really good team.
Yeah. So I guess that's a really big point then too, that if you are looking at moving into that small business or medium or whatever it is, that what you just described is so important, because if you had 18 people that were like really hard work, you probably couldn't manage a business of that size well.
No.
And feel satisfied with it.
No, it would be much harder, especially, and I guess it depends what your values are, but I have really, like, I have values in connection, and I love working with people that are like-minded when it comes to OT. I love talking about OT. I live and breathe OT. Even when we hang out socially, embarrassingly, we often
Don't
end
admit
up,
that. No, stop it.
we talk about other things.
Yeah, other things.
Yeah. But I think what I'm hearing as well is that it sounds, if somebody wants to go down that path of building perhaps from a sole trader to a team, knowing what your values are as a director.
And don't
is
compromise
like,
on them.
You have to
ever.
know that.
Yeah, that keeps you nice and anchored. And I wonder if we can even pop in the show notes. I'm sure that we've flogged this name multiple times on the podcast, Brene Brown, in terms of, because we've actually done a lot of work internally, like with all team members, values-wise, using her stuff. And maybe she's just got some really great handouts on that. And I wonder if that sort of thing would be handy for people. Just to even have a look at their values so
And
you
it's
can
not
anchor
about-
yourself.
It's not about having the same values. We couldn't have any more difference in terms of our values.
Yes.
It's more about people's self-awareness of their own values and their integrity as a person, I suppose.
So hot tips for your interviews then, for when you're
that
moving.
was not what this episode was
No,
meant to
it
be.
wasn't. But if you're looking at moving, or you are moving, or you're that small business owner now, that is probably a very hot tip, interview-wise.
Yeah. How do we navigate, and I know that you've said your current team makes it very easy, but that's not to say all bigger teams, there's not going to be clashes or conflicts or
Oh,
like
absolutely.
where does that come into actually having a successful team, and how do you as the director approach those kinds of things?
Yeah, I want to be clear that we're not without our problems.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
there's
absolutely.
when you're dealing with people, it's, you know, it's a hot mess.
Yeah.
Always.
Of course.
And I think you've got to want to navigate the hot mess.
Yes, and the people
I enjoy it.
Yes, that you are working with
Yep.
and for also share that.
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
have a lot of our team members, I would say, have like really great self-awareness in terms of what they want to work on personally for themselves, whether that be, I know you've spoken about on previous episodes, like giving feedback and receiving feedback and taking that in a way that's constructive. And I think all of those things, the more that you push that as values of your business as well,
You end up with
means-
the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think trust and connection is probably the biggest ones for me in that, you know, I give a lot of trust freely and no one's burnt me yet.
Yeah. I'm waiting till my 9th year, actually, for that. Just need a bit more long service leave to clock up.
So I think if I was someone that was very guarded or that would make my job much harder, I try to really connect with people so that tricky conversations come more easily.
Yeah, okay. And so then, since we're chatting about like moving from sole trader to small business, how do you find, like from what you're saying, it sounds like there's a big shift from sole trader as a me to as a small business a we.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, that's sort of actually where my question ends. I thought it was just related, but like, do you have any
What's the question?
Yeah, no, that was more of a statement, wasn't it? I just want to be involved.
Rhetorical.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I'm just wondering what, just for other people to, I guess, be aware of too. I'm wondering if you felt any big switches or changes for you in regards to doing that. And if you've just, again, got any more like tips or thoughts for people in that position.
Yeah. I think that there is a natural shift from me to we and it happens really quickly and you end up being very much in the shadows more than you realize, or that's been the case for me for sure.
Yes.
I go down to the waiting room. None of the families know really who I am anymore. It's very much you have to find purpose and find, I guess, relevance in your team's wins.
Yes.
So it's the team's wins. It's our joint successes. It's no longer my successes.
Which is a huge mind shift from previously seeing just as many clients as we were.
Well, when you're the sole trader too, though, as well,
yeah.
you are the business.
Yes.
Like you're still the business, but you're the one who brings in your money. You're the one who does does your scheduling, all of those sorts of things.
And it's really hard to move away from working in the business to working on the business. That's, a really,
good one.
really big shift.
Yeah, okay.
Because I was working, like I was seeing a full caseload when you guys started with me.
Yep.
So it was very much like we were like equals in a lot of ways in terms of it was tiny. There was a few of us. So the support looked very different.
Yes.
But in terms of what it is now, there has to be much more organisation and thinking and working on the business.
Yeah.
And I couldn't manage a caseload even if I tried to now. So, so I think that a lot of things have happened, just my journey from there to now for me has felt quite organic. I've just kind of been led by what I felt I needed to do for my team at any given time. It was very much like I never had plans to not see clients. I still think I'm going to take on clients again at some point once I learn to manage being a mum and running a business. And I do miss the client work, but I get to live vicariously still through the OTs that I supervise. And
so although it was sort of like organic, which is wildly unhelpful. Just so people trying to be like, oh, what tips
like,
can
what
I
is the
get?
hot tip?
Yeah, what's the
How do
hot
we do
tip?
it?
I'm
fast and loose.
Yeah, fast and loose. I'm wondering, because I saw you work on it though, carving out time for being on the business instead of in the business.
Yeah.
I feel like you did have to put like a lot of effort towards being like actually like, yes, delegation's a lot in it, but actually protecting the time and the space to work on the business.
And being able to afford it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is a big one. I think that's a skill I've really had to learn, and I've always lent into outsourcing things that I cannot do well.
Yeah.
So I have a fab accountant, and I'm
Shout out to Derek.
Yeah. I'm sure
You're listening?
Derek still, he says he doesn't, but I'm sure some of the questions he gets, he just rolls his eyes. He's like, we've been doing this for so many years. What a stupid question. But it was very much like quite structured in the way I dropped clients bit by bit as I could afford to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was really important. And I think I really wear the weight of the responsibility that I have now to run a sustainable business because 18 people
and
rely
long
on
service
me.
leave. Depends on you.
That's right. They rely on me for their employment.
Yes.
So the sustainability of the business is first and foremost. And so if you don't know your numbers and you aren't working with someone who can really help you to approach that with clarity, you're really doing your team a disservice.
It's too fast and loose.
Yeah, it's too fast and loose. Know your limits.
Yeah. So did you get an accountant very early on?
Yeah, right from the start.
Right from the start.
Yeah,
All
right
right.
from the start. Before I even registered my business name.
Yeah.
Even
Okay.
as a contractor, I had an accountant.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm not good with that stuff.
Yeah.
But maybe you are. You're just making the smart
No,
decision
don't-
of outsourcing.
Don't pumper. Don't
You're
pumper
good
up.
at money
No, keep
management
Derek.
in that you're not doing it yourself.
Yeah, actually, that's
right.
true. That is the management skill, knowing what you can and can't do.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I always had a lot of admin support. I think that's another mistake that people make is trying to be everything in a business. And I think that something that I've always done well is, as I could afford it, is really investing in admin support and valuing what admin-minded people bring to the party.
Yes.
And, you know, even when it was just Jake and I, we had part-time admin support a couple of days a week just to work with the clients and do billing and help us with our timetabling and do all of those things. So I think having strong admin support is crucial.
Yeah.
And now we've got a full-time practice manager. So we've got 4 admin staff. So we try to keep admin to OT ratios quite low.
Yeah.
Low? See how good I am with numbers?
I actually don't know what you mean. Do you mean low as in like we have a high number of OTs for the admin we have?
No, low number of OTs for the admin.
Oh, okay.
That's a low ratio, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, if you said it the other way around. The point is, I would say we have a high ratio of admin to OT.
Yes.
You know what? We'll run it by Derek.
Derek, send him an email. Watch out.
The point is,
we don't want him to roll his eyes, guys.
The point is, invest in admin.
Yes.
Don't think you can do it
Don't
all. 'cause-
skimp on it.
Yeah. And I think that's when we were speaking about kind of for directors, what's worth outsourcing.
Everything.
But but this is the thing, because some directors are like, nah, I do so much of it in-house. But we were talking about, well, that's really allowed yourself and even us as clinicians to spend time doing the things that we do best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rather than trying to, like when I have to book in, you know, things in my calendar.
Yeah.
It's so much more efficient for me, unfortunately, just to ask admin.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they're for.
Rather than me sit there for 20 minutes trying to figure out what code to put in my timetable and stuff.
And it's not the best use of your time for what you're being paid for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe some people are more universally well-rounded than I am. And I think that's the point. It's really about leaning into your own strengths and weaknesses. There's no cookie cutter method for running a business. There's really not. If someone tries to tell you that, they're honestly lying. I think if you can lean into yourself and your values, you're going to do a much better job than trying to emulate someone else who's done it, because they have a whole different skill set to you. So like there's some people, like I still do all the performance reviews because I love that. That's my point of connection.
It just takes like a whole term now.
Yeah, that's right. But that doesn't need to be done by you if that's not something that's, you might have a practice manager that does that, for example, but that's something that I really like. Or there's people that are still happy to do their BAS every quarter because they actually like that time to review their books or whatever. Not for me.
But I think going back to those performance reviews, being, like you said, more in the backstage, I suppose, of the business, that's really your opportunity to like fill your connection cup as well with your OTs.
Yeah, it's really hard. And when people ask me what's different now, it's how intentional I have to be. And for those that work for me know intention is like not my strong suit. So like weeks can roll past and I can get really distracted. So it's targeted time is really good for me. And I try to have a very open door. I don't even have an office. I work in the same office. Open door policy, open Zoom policy. Call me anytime. I love it.
Google Cacao policy.
Where like I really encourage just vibe checks and check-ins and coffee walks. Just book it in because it does have to be intentional. It's not like when we were just sitting right next to each other full time in the office and I was just available all the time.
Yes.
I know that my availability is a little bit more limited. So it does need to be more intentional, but I enjoy that part of my role. Otherwise, I wouldn't have grown the business. And it's also the reason I don't want to spread any further than one site. And that's my preference. That doesn't mean you can't run a successful multi-site business. Just for me, I can't duplicate the people I have. I don't want to split myself across two. I think us having one team that works together and we have one office and it's just much easier to build what we've built and continue to foster that under one roof. And it's not to say that you even need a clinic. You can foster it in other ways. But I think building trust and connection amongst a team just makes every other part of running a business super easy.
And I think you mentioned that in the burnout
I say
episode.
Easy very loosely.
That like if we want if we want if you want your staff to feel like you are a person that they can be vulnerable with as well, sometimes that trust and connection needs to be built first through vibe checks and coffees and that kind of thing that and like you said, you might need to be more intentional in setting those up so that when your staff are needing to sit in a space with you where they need to discuss something and be a bit more vulnerable, that is a safe space for them as well.
Yeah, and I think I don't take the responsibility to return that trust and vulnerability lightly. I really try to be transparent, potentially sometimes too much of an oversharer. It's my personality, but I think I try to model being quite an open and honest person and saying it how it is. And I think that people reward me with doing the same. So that's what's worked for me. It might not work for everyone else, but
it's like you said, you've got to know, and I think that brings it back to the start and what we were talking about, anchoring yourself in your values and that the values you want as a practice and what you're trying to achieve so that then you've sort of got I feel like I've gone into presenter mode, but like you've got your objectives. You can tell in bullet points in a slideshow. With the workbook. No, you've got your objectives of what you're setting out to do because then I really like it because then it sounds like what you were able to do with your values and the things that you wanted in a business is at least you can play fast and loose within the boundaries.
Yeah.
Fast and loose with no boundaries is just sort of a bit wild. It's a bit too much, even for you.
Yeah.
So whereas if you've got something like to anchor yourself, surely that helps to sort of steer you and keep you on track with what you're wanting to achieve. Like Jack said, whether it's remote, whether it is one site, whether it's 5 sites. If you've got that strong anchor there to really guide you, it sounds like that that's very helpful.
Yeah. And I think also just being able to lean into other people's strengths. So knowing, I guess being able to work alongside people. I think I really do a pretty good job to assume positive intent 9 times out of 10.
Yes.
And I think by doing that, you can really, work with very different people on your team.
Which sounds like a big skill then, again, in terms of if we're speaking to clinicians that are interested or are already running a small business, it sounds like it's such a shift from that one-to-one client work where it's very me and you've had to really develop or hone in on a lot of your people skills in terms of team management.
Yeah. I mean, people are people, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's like the skills like we tell the OTs on our team to be strength-based with the kids that we work with and like those kinds of principles don't come from nowhere.
Yeah.
They work with all
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you lean into people's weaknesses, you're going to get crap back.
Yeah, and that's a really good point actually, and something that you've helped me a lot with because that is not a default for me. You're quite good at like zooming out or
Yeah.
assuming that positive intent,
Yeah.
whereas I've had to really, really work on it. And I remember you telling me something to do with I can't even remember who it was about. Anyone, but I'll just use you, Jackie, as an example.
It was
Oh,
you.
gosh.
It was you.
Here it
Yeah,
comes.
time to tear her down. But let's say that and Jack will agree, that one of the things that is not her strength is she's got really good strengths and ideas and sort of lacks a little bit in terms of operationalizing
Here
them.
we go.
And making them, thinking about like, well, how much time is that going to take?
Yeah.
And so that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
accurate.
Yep. But you don't get Jackie without that part.
Yeah.
And that's actually really helped me in thinking about like other people for things that when you're in a team, obviously, again, like you said, we're all human. Things will annoy us all the time. We ourselves are annoying, of course.
Yeah.
But you don't get Jackie and everything that she brings
Yeah.
without her difficulties with operationalizing an idea. And you don't get me
Yeah.
and my ability to operationalize without my quite fixed mindset.
And brutal honesty. Jackie, what's the point of this slide?
Yeah, what is the
What
point?
is the
Often
point?
it's more like, don't know what this is. Get rid of it.
Get rid of
Okay.
it unless it's related to something, can it? But
Yeah.
you don't get me and my brain without that.
Yes.
No, that's right.
And so I
Yeah.
think that hopefully that sort of tidbit resonates with someone, but I know that that's really, or it's just very personal to me, but that really helps you in working with a team and building a team
Yeah.
is that it really leaning into the strengths and even with the weaknesses, that person, you don't get that person
Yeah.
without those bits in them.
Yeah.
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 Which is
And then
helping.
also, I guess, creating a culture where people aren't, I guess, just accepting of where they're at.
Yeah.
Because
Growth is
even,
huge,
I'm
yeah.
trying to learn how to
Yep.
operationalize.
You have gotten a lot
Yes.
better.
She's not like, it's not my thing. I don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're not like, you're so much more flexible than you've ever been, which is a huge compliment.
That's what I was going to say. I was saying to Jackie the other day, we're working on a presentation at the moment, and I freaked out because she has done most of her work. And all she is
Wow.
on time, right? All she is on time. I'm not
This is
behind.
unexpected for her.
But she is on time. And I was like, what have I missed? Is the date maybe not what I thought?
Is it 2 months earlier
Is
than
it
I
2
thought?
months earlier? Is it not August? So we've, but then, I've also, because I've become much more flexible, I build in my flex into my timeline. So the fact that she's actually on time and not in my mind, my new flexi timeline
Yes.
has freaked me out. So
Yeah.
I wonder if, I know, at risk of this being a really long episode,
Yeah.
I think just it would be nice to close for, I guess, both of you to kind of have a chance to share any tips, I guess, because you've seen what it's like to grow from sole
Yeah.
trader through to a big
Yeah.
business. How have you adapted or how has it benefited or not being on that journey as well?
Yeah.
Whoa. Do you want to
Yeah.
go first, Katie? Yeah.
I suppose if I think back to, I kind of separate my OT career currently to pre-children and
Post-babies, yeah.
post-children, particularly because I've come back part-time as well.
Yes,
But
yes.
it's funny because before I went on mat leave, we had only just moved to this clinic and I would maybe we had 10 of us at the time.
Yeah, max. Yeah.
And I felt like a lot of us were very similar in the way that we did our therapy. And probably because there was that close proximity in terms of sitting next to each other and going to all the same PDs together. And
Yes.
in coming back, I think I came back and there was like 7 new people on the team in 12 months, including admin as well. I think we had new admin and multiple new grads. And I think Katie had come in like sort of when I
Yes.
left. So I'd only worked with her for a couple of weeks. There was all these new OTs and 12 months worth of team bonding there as well that I found really hard to slot back in and go like, how do I manage, firstly, stimulating my OT brain again because I haven't done that for a long time, keeping up with what's current in terms of evidence and research and therapy, and slotting myself into this much bigger team than what it was, and it was really hard. But I have found so much growth in learning how other people do therapy as well, because I feel like our team now has come from so many different pathways and levels of experience and that kind of thing. And it's so interesting to see people having done their own sets of PDs and coming and sharing that with the team. And I do think that that's really helped to kind of help me be a bit more of a flexible therapist and not just be like, oh, this is the way we do it, to that's a really good point. Like I could bend that way and do it a little bit differently. So I have liked that element of more people means more diversity in brain power, essentially. But also coming in part-time has meant I've had to be, like you said, Jack, a little bit more intentional in terms of my opportunities for bonding, I suppose, with my colleagues, particularly being that I only do those 2 clinic-based shifts, and there are a number of our team members that I don't even cross paths with. So really being intentional when we do team events and that kind of thing, to be like, yeah, I'm going to really make that effort to hang out with those people tonight. What about you, Cowie?
I think one of the biggest switches for me, and also not like good and bad, because it's not like good and or bad, but I just mean in terms of a bigger team, I think one of the coolest things is now all the space for progression. Because when we started, if we had just stayed like the 4 of us or whatever, we're all moving up at a really similar
rate and pace,
time, you know? Whereas now that we have a bigger team, it's really cool to be able to have varying levels of experience, and it's given me a lot of challenges in terms of now needing to, it's the soft skills that we were talking about earlier, really needing to develop those. Like my focus has shifted so much from, I shouldn't say so much from clinical. Promise I'm still good at that. Promise. Promise that is still okay. But so much from clinical to leadership development. And what I mentioned before, like with what Jack's taught me more in terms of the zooming out. And it comes with a lot less glory now. You're a lot less relevant. I shouldn't say that. You're relevant in a different way. You aren't relevant in terms of like that face-to-face client stuff. Your relevance becomes different. You move from such a me, because often as you get a promotion, you're usually doing it because you're a high-performing individual. And now your set of metrics is so different. It's less about the numbers I bring in and more about how's the team's learning going? How are people going in terms of meeting their goals? How good is the culture? How strong is our retention? Is everyone feeling good in their jobs? Is everyone fulfilled? Is everyone else feeling relevant?
Your wins are other people's wins.
And that is such a huge shift. So I reckon that's been my biggest shift. Is
also
going
that
from,
opportunity for growth. It's really cool when you've got a bigger team to see what growth looks like for each individual.
Helping other people to do it has been sick.
And figure out what they really want to progress towards and how different that can look in each individual.
And so much of our progression has been created because of the people who are on the team. So like they haven't left, so I've had to give them things to do.
Jackie and I were writing my job description together the other day. We were like, oh, I wonder what could
this
go
looks
in
new.
here.
What are we going to make this?
But maybe that as our sort of final comment, if you've stuck around for this long, I'm sure we've gone way over.
We're at like 45 minutes.
Sorry. Is that you don't need to be this fast and loose around writing position descriptions to fit who
please
you've hired. Don't do that. But being flexible in terms of with the jobs that people are doing with you, if it's anchored in those values that you've set for yourself, then you can be flexible on the how. Because we do that. That's the thing with more people moving, progressing. People have even said, they're like, oh, but I don't want to do what Cowie does. Like the presentations and stuff don't interest me. And then it's all about, isn't it being clear that actually that's just the how Cowie does her job and meets the position description, but we can have a different how for you. So I think that maybe as well, it sounds like just from hearing you talk more about it, that flexibility plus has been a real success secret
for
to
me.
success, I guess. Yeah, for moving to that small business and maintaining it.
I don't have a 5-year business plan. That's not a tip. Don't.
That is not a tip. And as soon as I moved, because we were writing my grade 4 role, and I was like, oh yeah, well, we've got one sorted now. But I'm like, yep, I need to see the business plan and what we're actually like. So yeah,
I don't know who'll work for me in 5 years. I'm so people-centric. I work with the people in front of me. I think if you create the roles and then try and squeeze square pegs into round holes, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
See what pegs you have and then create the holes that will fit them.
Yes.
I just think that's always worked for me. And it's not to say that you can't create more structure if that's your strength and that's the way you're inclined to be, and find the right people. But I just find it easier to lean into the people in front of me and
lean into what they want to bring to the company.
Easier for me, and I find that enjoyable.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
and I can say from our perspective, I mean, I know it's worked for us, small sample size here, but
definitely not evidence informed.
Yeah, this is not a randomized control trial at all. This is a very biased
so many
study.
Disclaimers on this episode.
I am literally being paid to be here, so I'm receiving financial compensation.
Business mentees are just going to be like, nope.
But I guess from our perspective, we can certainly say it's worked from us. But also, if you're listening and have different thoughts, or if anything's resonated, or even if you found as well what hasn't worked, feel free to shoot us a message. Always happy to hear what's worked for other people, what has not.
Absolutely.
Because like Jackie said, it'll be very different for everyone.
Yeah.
If you're still here, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was a long one, but I think a really valuable one.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Well, at least we think so.
Once again, unbiased for sure.
All right. Well, we'll chat next time.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks,
bye.
Jack.
Bye.